Good evening and welcome. Tonight we'll be going over the history and geography of Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. First, a pronunciation note. I've heard it pronounced Addis Ababa and Addis Ababa. I think it just depends on where you are in the world. So I'm not sure what the correct one is in English. I'm pretty sure in English it's Addis Ababa. But whenever I was watching videos and things of actual Ethiopians talking about it, I heard them all say Addis Ababa. So I'm just going to go with that for tonight. Usually I stick with American English pronunciation, but again, I'm not quite sure which one's the correct usage. So we're just going with that. Addis Ababa, you can see right here, is pretty much smack dab in the middle of Ethiopia. And the capital city district is right here. It's very tiny. It is completely surrounded by the Oromia district, which is another interesting pronunciation because I've heard Oromo and Oromo. So Oromia, though, sounds pretty good in English, so we'll just stick with that for the region, Oromia. We'll look at the city more in depth on Google Earth after we go over its history, because I can't really show you much on this map. But to start off the history section, we are going way back to the beginning of humankind. Obviously, in this area, the Great Rift Valley, an area where the African continent is splitting in two, the tectonic plates are splitting apart. It was in this region, these valleys, where Homo sapien history began. It, for what we know, wasn't exactly in this area, but it was definitely in the valleys and areas surrounding the capital city. Pretty much, if you're Homo sapiens listening to this, your ancient ancestors came from this area. Isn't that fascinating? The oldest known Homo sapiens have been found in this area. And it was pretty much from here that Homo sapiens ventured out into the world, crossing this way, and this way, across the African continent and up into the Middle East and Europe, which I just think is so wild. That's the neatest history. The first major civilization city in this area was called Barara. Again, was it Barara? I'm not sure. I'm going with it. Barara was a royal capital for a long time for the Aksum Empire after they were kicked out of what are now the ruins of Aksum. They moved down here, and during the Ethiopia-Adal War in 1529, Barara was razed to the ground. It was destroyed. That war was between the Coptic Christians of Aksum and the Arabs of Adal, which were much further north. Just kind of clashing, not just in religion, but cultural conflict as well. You know, as Islam spread, Christianity obviously got here first because Christianity is older than Islam. But Islam spread rapidly in this area, so the Christians of the area pretty much just got squished kind of into this area. So it was just a matter of time before the Muslims conquered the area. Mount Entoto is just north of the city up here, and there are ruins here of another palace for the empire that came after. The various dynasties of the Solomonic line, they call themselves, because this royal family traces their lineage back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. I don't think we know for sure if the actual palace was in the mountains here of Mountain Toto, but there are definitely ruins that seem to indicate that. But Menelik II, who was the king of his dynasty, he wasn't emperor at this point, so I hesitate to say empire, was living in this area. It wasn't ideal, but his wife had a house at the bottom of the mountain in the little valley here. There was a hot spring there. She loved it. She had a house built there so that her and all her girls could go and hang out at the hot spring, which, I mean, goals, right? That sounds amazing. So, in 1884, Menelik II decided to turn this little vacation house into a primary residence for them. It officially became the royal residence in 1886, and his wife, Queen Tetu, named it Addis Ababa, which means blooming flowers, I believe, because it was just a beautiful place, right? Slowly but surely, the city developed, but its biggest population boom occurred right in 1889. Not long after the city pretty much was founded. People flooded into the area because the Italians were invading from the north. So here's what happened. Menelik II signed a treaty with the Italians. It was in Italian and Amharic. In the Amharic one, it said Italy was allowed to occupy the Eritrean coastline up here. In the Italian one, it said Italy controlled all of what's now Ethiopia, which was then called Abyssinia. So the Italians came in to claim their land. Big problem. That led to the Battle of Adwa of 1889, and it was the first time that a European army was thoroughly beaten by an African one. Like, there had been other little battles and skirmishes among the ethnic peoples of Africa and various European powers, but this was the first time that the world, particularly in Europe, went wait a second, this is a powerful force in Africa, the place that we just decided to completely colonize, So they knew they couldn't really touch this area, so it became, in a sense, it remained independent. It was independent beforehand. The Italians really tried to usurp them, and they failed. One of Ethiopia's claims to fame is that it was never ever a European colony, or was ever really conquered by Europe, but we'll get back to that statement. The population exploded due to people having to flee their homes from the Italian invasion. They fled here to the safety of the city. There were also famines in other areas of Ethiopia happening. People came to this big, new, beautiful city to start a new life, and the modernization and beautification started pretty much right away after it became the royal capital in 1889. A lot of the beautification came as celebration of the victory of the Battle of Adwa. Much later, Haile Selassie came to power. He would eventually be crowned emperor in 1930, but in the 1920s, he really, really expanded on the whole modernization and beautification of Addis Ababa. However, the Italians were still pretty bitter about this, and now they were fascist, so they kind of had a little more oomph to their stride. So in 1936, the fascist Italians, led by Benito Mussolini, invaded again, and they managed to take over the city. Emperor Haile Selassie fled to the UK, and during the 5 years of Italian occupation, they really tried to make it a more modernized European city, but they kind of had bigger fish to fry up on the European continent. Not to mention, Haile Selassie appealed to the League of Nations. He gave a very famous speech because it was the first time an African leader gave a speech at the League of Nations. And people are getting like, whoa, an African leader? Like in Africa? You know how it was back then. People were very impressed that there were African people who were well-spoken and well-dressed and all of that, right? They weren't all living in mud huts and all that. They were actually very sophisticated, intelligent people. What a concept, right? So with the help of the Allies at that point, because now World War II was in full swing, the Allies came in and retook the city in 1941. And Emperor Haile Selassie was back in charge. And now that he had all of this European influence, he really used that by helping to establish the Organization of African Unity in 1963. It would later be changed to the African Union. Their headquarters are still in Addis Ababa. And when the United Nations wanted to establish the UN Economic Commission for Africa, they established their headquarters also in Addis Ababa, which still is to this day. But everything outside of the capital city was not all beautification and modernization. There were, for one thing, widespread famines and massive discontent among the many different cultures of Ethiopia, mainly the Oromo, right? But we'll get back to that later. There was a issue of distribution of wealth, how, certain money was being allocated to building beautiful parks and planting beautiful trees in the capital city. Meanwhile, people are literally starving, right? So people were not happy about that, as you can imagine. Protests began in 1965 in the city, and eventually a Marxist-Leninist movement known as the Derg came to power. They took over the city in 1974 and, took over the government, allegedly assassinated Haile Selassie. Apparently they poisoned him, but allegedly. And for a hot minute, the country was run by the Derg, which, things were supposed to get better. They were going to address all the issues, and things just got even worse. So in 1991, the Derg was overthrown by the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front. And the monarchy by this point was kaput. So it became a democracy. And civilian rule has really helped, at least life in the city here. It is a very modern city, just as if you were to go to any modern city in Europe or North America or Asia. Big old skyscrapers, beautiful parks, beautiful museums, big old airport, all the things that a capital city should have. However, in other parts of Ethiopia, it's still not great. There are still issues with famine, and there's still issues with wealth distribution. And the Oromo in particular are hit really hard by these things. So when Addis Ababa wanted to expand its territory further into Oromia, the Oromo were not pleased whatsoever. There were huge protests in 2014 over it. And from what I can tell, plans for expansion were permanently tabled, scrapped completely. Just to not, start taking over other people's land and upsetting their lifestyles just so they could build more huge skyscrapers and things. But let's take a look at those huge skyscrapers and things, because like I said, Addis Ababa is a beautiful, beautiful city. Let me get my tablet ready for you. And let me zoom out a bit. Oop, there we go. Okay. So here is Addis Ababa. You can see it written here in Amharic. It is a huge, sprawling city. If we look to the north here, you can see Mountain Toto, but I wonder if it'll show up here. That is officially part of Oromia, so we're not going to look at Mountain Toto because that is not part of Addis Ababa. We'll look at it when we cover Oromia on the channel. So, one of the most important things to show you, I think, in Addis Ababa is the huge park complex. I think it's over here. Oh, yeah. This big, beautiful, beautiful park where you can see there are museums, there's a children's center, there's a zoo, the library's over here, and up here are the original palaces that Menelik II and his wife first constructed and were expanded upon under the reign of Haile Selassie. Unfortunately, not great photos on Google Earth. Otherwise, I'd show you, but look how beautiful these are. That's so pretty. Why don't we take a look? Friendship Park, too. They've got a little splash pad and a place to play Foursquare, I'm not sure, basketball, and you can run on the track there, play some football. This is the children's center. You can have your kids play and have fun in a safe and beautiful and clean environment, and have some good food too. Over here is, what do they call it? It's not Riverside Park. There's like an official name for it. I forgot. But it's this huge kind of outdoor seating area. There's performances here, the beautiful lake, beautiful water features. Looks like some was under construction there. But it is, oh, that's so pretty. Like one of the top places to see in Ethiopia. That's gorgeous. I also want to show you, besides the beautiful park here, let's see if I can find it. This might take a minute, but I know it's in this neighborhood. Let's see. I need to find the museum. Not the Soma Museum, although that is a pretty cool museum. It's not the one I want to show you. I need to show you. I'm getting too far north. It's somewhere around here. We could see all the embassies there. I wonder if I can find the old church too. St. George is the patron saint of Ethiopia, so I believe there's St. George's Church, and there's another one. Again, not very good pictures on Google Earth, but very old church dating back to Menelik II. I believe he and his wife established that church. I need to find the Ethnological Museum. Is this it? I believe it is. I believe this is it. Look how cool. There's the symbol of the emperor. That's Haile Selassie. So that has to... Oh my. Okay. Sorry, I just edited because a pen just rolled off a desk on its own. It's a little scary, but... Nevertheless, this is kind of more of a jump scare. This is not the fancy bathroom. Please do not touch. This is not the museum I wanted to show you, but it is a museum I wanted to show you. Look at this old Coptic Christian artwork. What's wrong with Mary's eye there? A little bit of wandering. Jesus is like, Mom, are you okay? Anyway, I think it's still beautiful. All the old artifacts here. I love this. This is incredible. Old pottery, paintings of the old emperors. old tribal costumes. That is so neat. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's one of the museums I wanted to show you. Oop, we're going too far north again. It is around here somewhere. I'm going to find it. I might just Google it. Or Google it. Search it on here. Let's see. Museum. Addis. Okay. Let's try this. The National Museum. Look how close I was. I just needed to zoom in a bit more. The National Museum. This is a very important museum because there are some amazing hominid skeletons here of these ancient pre-humans who learned how to walk on their own feet. There's a really cool throne. And then you can see this is Lucy. It says, "Hi, I'm Lucy," or Dinknesh in Ethiopian language. "I'm almost 3.2 million years old, but I'm walking fully upright. Please meet my world-famous ancestors and descendants, all from Ethiopia." So, I'm not sure if that's Lucy. That's Haile Selassie. There's a symbol. But is that not... Ooh, that's cool. Is that not fascinating? Our very, very ancient ancestors. That's where we all came from. Looks like gold. They kind of look like headrests, right? Too small for stools. That's a neat statue. This is a beautiful painting, isn't it? So is this. I love this art style. It's very kind of like Byzantine mixed with like, I guess kind of like a Persian flair to it. It's very distinctive, isn't it? This is an Olmec head. What is it doing in Ethiopia? These are from Guatemala, but okay. A very old throne, kind of in disrepair. Interesting. That must be in the ancient humans section. Old crowns of all the old rulers, and a big old cannon. Okay. So, I believe that's all I wanted to show you. If I can get everything to go away. If we want, we can take a quick look at the zoo. I can't resist a good zoo. Let's see. It's down in here. Real quick, let's look at the animals. Unity Park Zoo. We got some giraffes, some fishies, some lions up here. Looks like they're enjoying the view of the city. Lots of little horsey type friends. Cheetahs, the giraffes, the lions. They're having a lazy day. Lazy, lazy lions. Big hallway here. This lion looks tired. It's like that I just woke up face, you know? But, oh, that's right. That's why I wanted to click on the zoo. It has this beautiful garden, which kind of combines like Italian and French style gardens. It's really gorgeous. More sleepy lions. Ooh, what is this? It looks like a very old petrified tree stump, but it looks like there's like carvings in it. That's interesting. An eel, an ostrich, a replica there. Some painted dogs. They're so cute. And this sign. Ethiopia. I don't know if this says Ethiopia. Maybe it says I love Ethiopia. But I kind of have a feeling that it's I love Ethiopia. It's such a beautiful language too. Is it bad that it kind of reminds me of Unknown from Pokemon? A little bit. But it's a very, very old ancient alphabet. I think it's so interesting. It's called, I believe it's Ge'ez script or Ge'ez script. I'm not sure. But yes, very, very, very old. which they still use the alphabet to this day. So let's zoom out a bit. I guess we have the zoo highlighted. So you can have a better view of exactly where we are in the world. Let's turn it so that north is north. And you can see we are right here. What's interesting is that you can really see the Great Rift Valley from space here. So we're just right in that valley region, right there. There's Addis Ababa. So that's going to be it for tonight. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, because this is going to be a long ongoing series of where I go through every single region of the world. Next, we're going to hop over the Gulf of Aden here and revisit Yemen. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a very good